What's up, y'all? Reggie here with another video for the Utopian project here as I'm leaving Publix. But I want to do a video talking about how and why I know so much and know so much more than you do, and why I'm so smart. So let me get into that. First off, I'm just joking. Did you hear that? Let me repeat. I'm just joking. The title is a joke, etc., etc. But it's a play on the idea of, I'm always hearing, not always, but, a lot of times people think you know everything, or you know so much, or you think you're smart, or goody two-shoes, all this kind of defense mechanism kind of talk for people when they are afraid of being wrong. I don't know why I'm hoarse all of a sudden. When they are afraid of being wrong or being proven wrong about a stance or a point they made, especially if it's something, emotionally charged or super controversial, or that means a lot to them. But, there's this ancient Chinese proverb that says, now I don't know if it was Chinese or what, might have been Buddhist, but it was somewhere over in the Orient, Asian lineages, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. But it says that when you name something, you rob it of its power. Or it's like when you name something, you weaken it. Because once you name something, you're saying what it can't be also by default. So when you name something, again, you're saying that it can't be anything else other than that. You put it in a box, basically. So this is important to understand, because this is part of the law of opposites, or perceived opposites, right? Which is generally how we kind of define ourselves in our world, as to what we want to be and what we don't want to be, what we like, what we don't like, who we are, who we don't want to be, etc., etc. So if this thing on my hat, if this thing on my head is generally accepted to be called a hat, a cap, etc., etc., right? There might be some nuance there. Hat, cap, somebody about to cross the center line on me, going faster than they need to be. But but it's not an airplane. It's not a car. It's not a cloud. So just because a person might believe, or might have been led to believe, that it's a toboggan, it's not a toboggan. It's not a car. It's not a helicopter. Y'all know I love my airplanes and things that fly, right? It's not a bird. This isn't called a bird. This is called a hat or a cap, right? So understanding what something is gives you, me, everybody else an almost infinite rebuttal for opportunity for infinite topics. Like, no matter what it is, no matter how many things can come up in your life, if you understand what something is in that conversation or argument or whatever, then you also understand what it is not. And this understanding that allows you to recognize logical fallacy, cognitive bias, etc., and note when somebody is wrong about something that they're using or whatever to rebut, whether it be a controversial topic or whatever else. Now, obviously, a lot of things are multifaceted or whatever else, but you can pick them apart. And this is how we get to the bottom of things. We pick things apart to their individual pieces and find out what is and what isn't. And either you're really trying to find out how to do that, either about yourself or about whatever topic it is that you're talking about, or there's something else going on, which is usually some ego issue, like you want to be right, or you want to be perceived to be a know-it-all, or whatever else. But that's what I do often, because I'm interested in learning more about the human condition and learning more about creation, reality, etc., etc. And that's just that just blows me away, like understanding my world and my life and human nature. So I don't have any problem entering a conversation or an argument with the idea that I might be wrong about something, but I usually am not, because I've done the work either beforehand or in my head to realize how I need to either enter the conversation or ask a question, because you can ask a question sometimes. If you feel like a person is wrong, you don't have to necessarily say they're wrong, but you can ask a question that proves that they might not know, or the question could literally be that you don't know. So you might ask it in a way, you might have an idea, you might think but you're not sure. So you can still ask a question and phrase it in a way that the person or people or whatever else, you can gain clarity, but you can also help that person understand that they might be off. And that's just from asking a question. Not to mention, being able to just straight ahead and directly rebut something if you know that something else is not true. But when you're having an argument, whether it be real or perceived, major, minor, logical, illogical, important, not important, very important, whatever it is in life, if you can routinely say with confidence that well, you're wrong about that, well, that's wrong, well, that's not accurate, that's wrong, that's wrong. If you can do that 5-10 times in somebody's argument, they're not gonna like it, obviously, and they're gonna feel like you're a know-it-all. And a lot of times this happens online or whatever else because people don't really understand how much they are affected by learning how to spout logical fallacies and show their cognitive bias and other biases. And just people want to be right more than they want to be truthful. And it's just a complex of not really being in tune and being in awe or wanting to know more about yourself. You don't really want to better yourself. You just want to be right. It's an ego problem. It's an ego versus egolessness imbalance. And until you get to a point to where you're truly trying to seek truth, you're always going to run into these situations where you're going to feel like everything is an attack. And, then you start getting into covert narcissism. Everybody, is trying to make you a victim. You're a victim of your environment and everything else. And you can't speak unless you're right. And anybody who challenges you is trying to attack you. These are off-balance positions to be in. But yeah, like, you don't need a lot of education. You don't need to be smart to understand these principles because they are generally universal knowledge. This is just how it works on Earth. Some things are. And even within that, there are not really absolutes. And like the law of opposites even, like I think a lot of our existence and how we interpret our world is binary. So again, but there are always outliers. It's like either, just like your muscles are on or off. You want to be this person, you don't want to be that person. You want to be this, you want to be that. You don't want to be that, you don't want to be that. But there are outliers and there are gray areas. But what the woke machine and etc. want to do is find those outliers and make those outliers seem to be way more important and have more validity and whatnot, which gives them more power than they should have, instead of classifying them as outliers. So it causes confusion, et cetera, and it dirties the search for truth, because now you're giving artificial support to something. And I'm not talking about any one thing in existence. I just know if you watch, this is always the case. And the opposite will be the case too. Things that are more statistically significant than they are will be downplayed as if they are just merely very rare outliers. and we can go back to a certain contagion and a certain medicine, et cetera, right? All of a sudden, the reporting system for people to report their negative outcomes, well, it's unreliable, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that really that many people in the scope of millions of people and all this sort of nonsense. So, but again, I can be here all day talking about this stuff. But the idea, the main point of this video is just to understand understand the definitions and ask for clarification if you need to, if what somebody's trying to say. That's why I'm real big on that. Like, ask what somebody is really trying to say. Like, ask for clarification so that you can understand what they're trying to say before you attempt to, if you need to, before you attempt to rebut them, because that's important. Because you need to know what a person or people or company or whatever else is trying to say or get at before you can properly rebut it. Because once they name something, it can't be but so many things. It can't be anything else. It is what they said. And if you can prove that it's not what they said, then you have a case and you have a logical rebuttal instead of illogical, which are logical fallacies, because fallacies just feel logical. But logical fallacies feel logical, but that's why they're called fallacies, because they're still fallacies. But at the end of the day, again, it boils down to knowing what it is that you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, find out more. And you're probably never going to know everything about what you're talking about. But if you know enough to be able to pick points and know that point, know that thing, then when anything else comes along trying to masquerade, or someone is trying to say that it is that thing, you can simply say that it's not true and here's why, et cetera, et cetera. It's a pretty simple process, but you being able to do that multiple times, me being able to do that multiple times, et cetera, is how we understand ourselves and our world more and get to the truth more. The machine, the woke bullcrap, et cetera, is simply trying to keep us from being able to do that, because they want to be able to lie and pull the wool over people's eyes as much as often. Speaking of which, a point I made in my last video before doing this one, like if I see a picture given by a certain space agency, it's a you know, a picture certified or whatever from this agency, and it's of Earth from space, but you left out a landmass. That's not a picture of Earth. That's that. It doesn't mean anything else. You can assume anything else, and that's not the point being made. The point being made is that you put up a picture and you said it was of Earth, and that is not a picture of Earth. Now, what it is a picture of, that's a whole other topic. So then you can make a logical assumption or two or three as to why somebody, some company or some agency would do that. Now, would you need more proof, et cetera, maybe you'll be making logical fallacies or whatever else if you drag that out too far, yeah. But you can start the conversation. Now, same thing for herd immunity, right? When it comes to a certain contagion, right? Their definition was changed. They wanted to change the power of your ability to find truth about this topic. So the definition was changed, because once you name something, you change its power level, right? You say what it can and can't be. So they literally tried to restrict and give that word less power because it had really two meanings. They wanted to give it one. Those two examples right there, et cetera, right? So, boom, all right? But no, I don't think I'm that smart. I just think I can communicate well, and it's been developed well over many years. But this didn't come from me going to college. This didn't come from me having two parents. This didn't come from me being in launch and making all A's and B's in middle school and most of high school or whatever else. It didn't come from that. It came from understanding arguments in the health and fitness industry. and extrapolating that out into other areas of my life, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever, when it comes to that. So that's why I'm quote unquote so smart, because I'm smart enough to understand the importance of identifying bull crap. That's the only thing you need to know about me, as far as if you think I'm smart or know it all, right? And that's what I think everybody should be doing, especially nowadays. And especially when politicians, news agencies, and et cetera, these types are talking to you or putting some stat up on TV or whatever else, all right? Lots of errors and lies by omission, and other logical fallacies. And speaking of which, you know, I'm about to be home, so I'm gonna go out and get in the very oppressive weather, right? And you know, I might have some food, and hopefully, if I want to eat some junk food, it won't be from oppressive language attempting to you know, oppress me and linking it to slavery, because I want to be a certain size and I want to eat junk food and other crap. I know nobody probably really knows what I'm talking about, but I'll get into that in other videos. But anyway, peace, love, and light. I'll see y'all later, man. You get the point. You get the idea. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. Plenty of people way smarter than me, right? So, and I always give that caveat. But you get the point. Learn to identify bull crap. It helps you become a better person and a better debater. It helps you formulate your responses, and it helps you understand yourself and your world more. And it helps you shut your mouth when you don't know what you're talking about, which is always very important. So, peace, love, and light. We'll see you on the next video.